Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast, powered by Advanced Takedown Treestands, episode number 199. Josh and Krysten McDaniel, Deer Hunting's Journeymen and Shooters Archery. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Today's show is sponsored by Advanced Takedown Treestands, Covert Scouting Cameras, the Horny Buck Seed Company, the Eurohanger, and Morse Sporting Goods. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hey guys, this is Laurie Eakin with the Hunting Widow podcast, and you're listening to the Big Buck Registry, my second favorite podcast.
This is Rob Richardson from New Hampshire Shadowhunters Club. You're listening to my favorite podcast of all time, Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast.
This is Shannon Hart from Miss Wild Game, and you're listening to my favorite podcast, the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast. I'm psyched that you're tuning in right now, and it's just, it's music to my ears to know that somebody else is listening to this show. And as we do each and every week, and by we, I mean me and my good friend Dusty Phillips from Ohio, we try to deliver the best content we possibly can so that you can increase your hunting skills to its utmost performance. And Dusty Phillips is sitting right here with me right now from Podcast Studio South. What's going on, my friend?
Turkey season is upon us. I'm trying to throw my second tag here in Ohio, Jay. Man, the weather's starting to get right. It's real close to making some hay time.
Hay time is right around the corner. It certainly is. I want to let everybody know that we're still doing the harness program. We've got a few coming in and actually need some recipients now. So if you're in need of a tree stand harness, I know it's a little early to think about deer hunting, but if you are in need, we do have some coming in. So shoot me an email, jay@bigbuckregistry.com. Dusty, what do you think about when I say the words lipstick and polished nails and groomed hair? Do you think like calculated deer killer?
I think city slicker.
City slicker, exactly. That's what I would normally think. But this week's guest is a kind of the antithesis to that. We're speaking with Josh and Krysten McDaniel. And if you don't know who they are, we bumped into them at the SHOT Show in Vegas this year. And turns out Josh is a podcast fan. And he had never heard of us, but he does now. Not only that, but now he's been a guest on our show as of this week. And Krysten learned to deer hunt from Josh. Josh is hunting some massive deer along with Krysten in the Illinois, Indiana, Kansas area. And now Krysten, who is a former cheerleader and a self-proclaimed girly girl, likes to get down in the mud and belly crawl and shoot some big deer and turkeys like Josh. So don't judge a book by its cover.
It's amazing how you go from living in the city, Jay, to loving the woods and the outdoors. That's, and it's not only just something that comes from the city, but anybody else that's not an outdoorsy type, if you take the time and put the effort into it, the outdoors will convert you over. That's a fact.
It actually will. I think you should at least give it an opportunity if you've never actually tried it. And to anybody who is listening who is a diehard deer hunting fan, there are many little trinkets in the show. So stay tuned because Josh has some insights that you might want to add to your bag of tricks that you may not have heard of. So stay tuned for that. But before we get to Josh and Krysten, let's turn to Jim Keller with the deer news.
The deer news this week is sponsored by the Eurohanger. You don't have to spend big bucks to hang your big buck. Get yourself a Eurohanger. Facebook.com/Eurohanger, EUROHANGER.
For the Big Buck Registry, this is Jim Keller with the Deer News. Our first story this week, threat of moose-killing tick infestation looms as far north climate warms. This story was originally featured in the Alaska Daily Dispatch News website and was written by Yerith Rosen. A small but dangerous parasite, the winter tick, is spreading north and west as winters become shorter and now is knocking on Alaska's border. The winter tick, which has already devastated moose populations in New England and the upper Midwest, has been confirmed in Canada's Yukon Territory and in the Northwest Territories, where it's infecting elk, mule deer, and some moose. For moose, the winter's tick effects can be gruesome. The ticks gather in the fall on forest plants, latch onto passing animals, and stay there through the winter, swelling to the size of grapes as they feed off their host's blood. Tens of thousands of ticks can latch onto a single moose. They make the moose itchy, uncomfortable, and prone to spending a lot of time and energy scratching, sometimes rubbing away fur, and too little time eating. Infestations are most dangerous for calves, which are already vulnerable to the winter. The average tick load on an infested moose is 40,000, and some have been found with 90,000, said Peter Perkins of the University of New Hampshire, one of the lead scientists studying the disastrous impacts of winter ticks on the New England moose. A load of more than 40,000 ticks will use up a calf's entire blood supply in about 4 weeks. Adult moose are more likely to survive, but reproduction can be affected with far fewer cows giving birth to twins. Although elk and deer are also infected, they are less harmed by the ticks because they groom their bodies regularly and are better to able remove the parasites. The Yukon wildlife winter ticks have been most prevalent so far among elk, though they are found on moose and deer, territorial officials report. Alaska is already home to some ticks, but contrary to occasional assertions that the state is tick-free. Continued reintroduction of Mexican gray wolves clears hurdle in New Mexico. This story was featured on the Outdoor News website. A federal court on Tuesday removed an obstacle to the U.S. government's plan to release more endangered wolves in Mexico over the state's objections, but it was not clear whether additional animals would be reintroduced under the Trump administration. The State Game and Fish Department is disappointed, but it will be pursuing the case in federal court in New Mexico, where it was originally filed. Fish and Wildlife spokesman Jeff Humphrey said the agency was still reviewing the decision. Despite the ruling, it wasn't immediately known whether the wolf releases would resume. President Donald Trump has slowed or reversed other environmental initiatives since taking office in January, when the appeals court was considering the wolf case. And many Republicans in control of Congress have long objected to parts of the Endangered Species Act, which is legal authority for reestablishing the Mexican gray wolf and other animals. Protected status under the act usually brings restrictions on ranching, mining, and other activities. Only about 110 Mexican gray wolves live in the wild. They nearly disappeared in the 1970s, and the federal government added them to the endangered species list in 1976. The Fish and Wildlife Service began reintroducing them to parts of their original range in New Mexico and Arizona in 1998. The government appealed. The 10th Circuit says New Mexico failed to show that the state would suffer irreparable harm if more wolves were released, a requirement for such an order. The appeals court didn't address any questions, including whether New Mexico would likely win a lawsuit over the dispute. Wolf reintroduction programs are always contentious because of the threat the predators pose to livestock and wild game favored by hunters. Last year, the Interior's Department internal watchdog said Fish and Wildlife had not fulfilled its obligations to remove Mexican gray wolves that preyed on pets and cattle. New Mexico officials also complained that the federal government tripled the target number of wolves in the wild from about 100 to 300 without sufficient justification. Teen who jumped into a fish tank at Bass Pro Shops could face charges. This story was originally featured on the Denver Post website and was reported by Tom McGee. A juvenile who jumped into a fish tank at Bass Pro Shops at the shops in Northfield, Stapleton on Saturday, injuring his head, may face charges if his actions damage the tank or hurt the fish, Denver police said Sunday. A manager at the store refused to comment, and a company representative didn't return a call Sunday. The boy jumped from an upper bridge into the main fish tank in the center of the store about 5 p.m., according to an employee who didn't want his name to be used because he is not authorized to speak for the company. He said the boy's friends took a video of the jump. The boy hurt his head but wasn't taken to a hospital. Investigators have asked to speak with the boy and his parents. That concludes this week's edition of the Big Buck Registry's Deer News. For links to the stories featured this week, please check our show notes at bigbuckregistry.com. If you have any questions about future topics or have questions about any of these topics, please email me at jim@bigbuckregistry.com. The Big Buck Registry, this is Jim Keller with the Deer News.
Thanks to Jim Keller for the Deer News. Without further ado, here's Josh and Krysten McDaniel.
Josh and Krysten McDaniel. Welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast. How are you, my friends?
Good.
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show and touching base off of our visit that we had at SHOT Show in Las Vegas, and we were destined to have you on this show at that point. We kind of hit it off.
Yep, yeah, man. The pleasure's ours, man. I'm a big podcaster, so I'm pretty stoked about this.
Well, when we were having that conversation at the Realtree booth, I was pretty psyched to hear you say, hey, yeah, I dig podcasts. Made me feel very good, because not everybody that I talk to knows what the heck a podcast is, first and foremost. But the fact that we had a deer hunting podcast made it even better. So I was very excited to meet both of you.
Shoot, yeah, man. Yeah, we, I love to work out and listen to podcasts, and then driving, I don't listen to a whole lot of radio. I prefer to listen to podcasts. That's why I was kind of shocked I hadn't heard you guys as yet.
I was shocked, too. I guess we have some work to do. Dusty and I need to start knocking on doors or something. We got to hit the pavement and get out there and spread the word some more.
Well, I have caught up on them since we had that conversation, though, so if that makes you feel any better.
It does, actually. I'm glad somebody's listening.
I'll smack him for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep me in line.
I'm sure you're in close proximity, so you should be able to land a good one.
Well, lucky for him, my right hand's out of commission right now.
Yeah,
for a little bit.
I've been loving it.
All right. What happened there, Krysten?
I got in a car wreck. It's in February. It was a month before my first turkey hunt, and I wrecked my Mustang. I had a bright yellow convertible Mustang that was just my baby. I had it for 11 years. I barely let Josh drive it, but he was just glad it was me and not him. But
gotcha.
But anyway, it was almost a head-on collision. I was going down a highway, and a lady was turning into a business, and it was actually the local butcher shop that we take our deer to get processed. Anyway, she was turning into there and turned right in front of me, and I thought at first I was fine and no big deal. And we went to the emergency room and got my hand x-rayed, and they said it was just sprung real bad, no big deal. And in the emergency room, Josh was actually looking at crossbows, some KMXs that would be perfect for this turkey season. And I was like, no, I'm like, I got a month, I'll be fine. And 2 weeks later, it just wasn't getting any better, and I went to the doctor, and we found out it was fractured in 3 places and had some bone broke off, and I was all upset, wasn't I?
She was pretty bummed out.
Yeah, they were like, you're going to have a cast from your fingertips all the way to your elbow, and I was just crushed. I mean, anybody, as a bow hunter, that's just devastating to find that out like 2 weeks before season. So just thankful. I'm very thankful it wasn't right before deer season, but we made it work. I had no trouble whipping that KMX out and putting some birds down.
She was all bummed out. They told her she had the cast all the way past her fingertips, and I said, chill out. I said, I'll call Larry McCoy there with the Outdoor Group. He's a real good friend of ours, and he's an awesome dude. So I said, we'll give him a call. He'll send us one of his KMXs. I said, we'll take it out. I said, we'll at least get you 1 or 2. I said, I'm sure I can get you close enough. I didn't realize she'd go off and kill like 6.
No.
4 days of hunting.
It was definitely I would say, best and easiest turkey season. I mean, we figured like 4.5 days of actually hunting, like for me. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I mean, every day, like every first day of the hunt that I went, like, every state, I shot.
And it wasn't really a great season as far as overall. I mean, we weren't seeing a lot of birds. I was like, gosh, this is going to be a tough one. And she made me insert my foot in my mouth just about every hunt that she went on. It was pretty crazy.
Gotcha. So, Josh, I'm cruising your Twitter account right now.
Right on.
Yeah.
You got to tell me about this Realtree Max double caffeinated coffee you've been sucking down just before you hit the woods. What's that all about?
Oh man, I tell you what, I've never never grew up drinking coffee. I was always a caffeine pop dude. About 3 years ago,
mm-hmm.
I was like, I got to do something different, and I started drinking coffee. And now I'm absolutely hooked on coffee. I mean, I can't. I'm a zombie in the morning. She makes so much fun of me because when I get out of bed, I don't want to be talked to nothing. I just instantly straight to the coffee maker. And of course, I'm the only one that drinks coffee, and I don't drink like 6 cups or nothing. So the Keurig's like perfect. And Realtree hooked us up with some of those Realtree coffee, and I want the best stuff they got. So I was like, double caffeinated. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, it'll wake you up.
Yeah, it's called Realtree Max double caffeinated coffee, and it's all run through the Keurig. I bet that packs a punch and gets you going.
It does, buddy. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I could definitely tell the mornings he's had his coffee because he's just a chatty Chappy and all ready to go. And then if we run out of coffee. There's no talking in our household.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I apologize regularly for it, though.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk a little bit about both of you guys. Where are you, Josh? Let's talk about you for a little bit. Where are you from originally?
I'm actually from small town USA, man. We're from Jasonville, Indiana, little redneck town.
Okay.
Graduated like 50 in my class. You know, nothing. We're just a little redneck town that plays sports and mud and trucks and fishing and hunting's about all we do.
Nice.
That's about all there is.
All right. What about you, Krysten? Where are you from?
The same place.
Okay.
Jasonville, Indiana. Yep.
All right. So you guys kind of grew up in the same environment. Like you knew.
We did. Yep.
Both
we went to the same school.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Very cool. All right. How'd you meet?
Yeah.
How'd we meet?
Yeah. Well, actually, we actually met years ago. There's the most popular thing in our town is a state park, so Shakamak State Park.
Okay.
And its big tourist thing is it's got a big pool area, and we met years ago. Shoot, I was probably a freshman.
You're just a young buck, yeah.
And we met there, and we actually, which is weird because we're such a small town USA that everybody knows everybody. Heck, I mean, when I was a senior, I knew the junior high kids. You know, and
right.
I went to college with guys that didn't even know everybody in their graduating class.
Right.
Let alone the whole school. And we actually surprisingly never really associated much after that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't cool, you know, because I'm 4 years younger, so it wasn't really cool at that age to hang out with.
Yeah, she was a freshman when I was a senior, so
gotcha.
You know, that would have crimped my style a little bit.
Yeah,
right,
doing something like that.
Yeah, that wasn't that cool back then. But you know, once you get a little older, that 4-year gap gets a lot smaller.
Oh yeah.
Well, I tell you what, man, I went off to college and played basketball for a year, and then decided to come back and coach basketball. Mm-hmm. And she was one of the cheerleaders, and I thought, who is this girl? She'd grown up a little bit since the last time I remembered.
There you go.
And I was like, wow. And she didn't want to give me much time of her day at first. She played a little hard to get.
Nice job, Krysten. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So it was frowned upon a little bit that he was the coach. It was a freshman coach, wasn't it, in JV?
JV, freshman.
Yeah,
JV.
and then I was a cheerleader. That didn't go over super well.
You had to smooth that out, huh?
Yeah. It's funny now, but
yeah, it's all
funny now.
Right. All right. So you've been kind of together for a while, and you both understood the way of life where you were from, and you probably had a lot in common when it came to the outdoors. So were you both outdoors people at that time, or did you kind of develop over time?
No, I wasn't at first. I was really super girly and prissy, but my grandpa got me shooting guns ever since I was like 6. I was out there shooting with him, and so I think that kind of like got me into it, you know, enough. And then I had no clue that Josh was a hunter. He was a jock. He was pretty into sports and stuff, and that's really all I knew. And the first time I went to his house, and I seen, you know, all these deer heads on the wall and turkey mounts and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, you hunt? This is cool. And I was like, well, I'd like to try it sometime. Like, I'd like to go. And it just blew him away. And of course, he told me right off the bat that, you know, after going to his house and stuff, he told me that, you know, it was a big part of his life, and that I was just going to have to get used to it. That, you know, during turkey and deer season, I wasn't going to see him, or I'd have to go out in the woods, you know, and go with him if I wanted to see him. So anyway, yeah, he took me. It was actually turkey season, and it was like the last weekend.
Yeah, it was the very last weekend of Indiana season, which if anybody that's ever hunted Indiana season knows, that last weekend, it's tough.
Mm-hmm. And all the birds are all educated by that time.
They're pretty pressured by that point. Indiana's pretty popular turkey hunt state, and they get a lot of hunting pressure. And it's funny thing, we already been on Tate, 2 months, 3 months maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was really, my intentions were just to take her out there, let her kind of see what I do when I'm out there. I was tagged out, all my buddies were tagged out, so I'm like, well, let's do it. So I wanted to just let her hear some gobbles and maybe see something. I really didn't expect her to shoot anything. And we weren't even out there an hour, maybe. First time she's ever sat down in the woods against a tree, and we work a bird. And he is in our face, and she never really used a hunting shotgun in this situation before. And I gave her a quick run through the night before, and she was sitting between my legs, and this dude comes in. He's like 10 yards, and there's a couple of shooting holes. I was trying to get her to shoot me first, and she just wasn't ready yet. And then finally he gets out in the wide open. We're like on the pine ridge. He's in the wide open at like 8 steps and gobbles right in our face. And I'm about to have a heart attack. And I'm like, shoot. And finally she shoots him. And she rolled him, and he was done, you know, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, this girl had been never hunted before in her life. This dude had like inch and a quarter spurs, 24 pounds, 11 3/4 inch beard. Her first turkey, first hunt in her life. Not only did she get a hear gobble, she heard it right in her face. And so, needless to say,
So I was
fell in love
after that one. No pun intended.
Yeah, I fell in love after that one. So I'm gonna marry that girl, that's for sure.
There you go. That's
His
a
dad's
keeper.
face, I can still remember it, because his dad dropped us off at that spot,
Yep.
and we came out running with the bird and everything else, and his face was priceless. Like, I still can see that to this day.
Yeah,
he just couldn't believe it.
In our little small town we come from, this was 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and it wasn't as popular, especially in our area. It wasn't that popular for a whole lot of little pretty girls to be hunting. So she got a lot of attention for that turkey, obviously, but it's changed a lot.
Oh yeah, there wasn't even like women's clothing then. I remember I had like some of your old bibs on, and those pictures I didn't look cute at all.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So
it was a small community.
Was it frowned upon to have the pretty girl show up with a monster tom and show it off?
No. I think it wasn't really. It just didn't really happen in that area at the time.
Yeah, everybody was excited about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She got a lot of positive attention for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think that kind of started it. That's what she.
Well, we won't name names in case he might watch this podcast, but there was a particular teacher that wasn't a fan of me, and so I took him the pictures of my turkey.
Really?
Like,
All right.
wow. You guys got to know she was the prissest cheerleader that you'd ever see. I mean, it was hair done every single day. Everything was prissy. So you can imagine how shocked everybody was. When
Right.
She,
oh yeah,
Right,
people still tell me to this day. They're like, I can't believe that you're into hunting and do all that.
Right.
But,
Right. So you go from it's almost opposite of what you'd think. You get somebody that's cheerleader, polished, looking good, hair, nails, everything, and then turn around and you're like belly crawling through mud to get to some turkey and smack him in the face with a 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Right.
Complete opposite. There's a huge contrast there. So I can see how people are like, what? What's that?
Yeah.
Very cool.
It just goes back to show you, man. I mean, it's just you never know who you got to introduce anybody and everybody you can and give them a chance because you just never know who's going to fall in love with it.
Right.
Yep.
People, and I never pass up an opportunity to introduce somebody into the field, no matter what.
Heck yeah, man.
There's even a slight interest, let's do it. Absolutely.
Yep.
So you knew that things were going to go well after that experience. Now, deer hunting, when did deer hunting come around after that turkey hunt? When did the deer hunting, was it that coming season when you started to get into the field?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I shot my first doe that deer season.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And then he slowly started getting me into bow hunting.
Yep. She shot her first doe that late muzzleloader season.
Yep.
With a muzzleloader, and she fell in love with that. And then the next fall, that's when we started getting.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Because you've been bow hunting for about 11 years now, I think.
Was it? Yeah.
So we got her like a little Matthews Mustang. Was her first
that
little
was my first
little bow. I think it was like 2 inches too long the draw length because it just didn't.
Too short, you mean?
Yeah, too short on the draw length. Yeah.
Right.
Because back then you kind of made it work.
Yeah, you weren't really sure.
Right.
Yeah. Like, not shooting a bow before. I just wasn't quite used to it. It took me a little bit to kind of get the feel for it and stuff, but
that was when you probably got hooked the most.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget it. I took her bow hunting for the first time, and it was like into fall, and it was about the time you could really start to work some bucks into calls, rattling and grunting and stuff. And I grunted in this little buck, and he came in all the way to the base of the tree, and she had picked up her bow. I told her to get ready. At that time, it was a little fork one, I think.
Yeah.
And she said that she'd shoot anything. So I told her, I said, get your bow. Here he comes. And he comes all the way to the base of the tree, and I'm telling her, I said, enjoy your bow. And I'm looking over at her. She's not even trying. And she goes, I can't. And I was like, what do you mean you can't? You're not even trying. She goes, I can't. And that sucker walks off. It's a little four-corner, a little 1.5-year-old buck. He walks off, and afterwards she looks up at me, and she gives me her hand, and she goes, how are my hands so cold and sweating at the same time? And I'm like, honey, that's called buck fever. And I think ever since then, she's been obsessed with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Kristen, is that your recollection as well? Was it just like buck fright kind of thing?
It was, yeah. That was my first case of buck fever for sure. Yeah, it was just, I mean, like you said, I didn't even try to pull my bow back, but I just knew I couldn't. Like, right. And it took me a long time to kind of get through that. Really, it's kind of crazy. I mean, bow hunting for me, I think just because I didn't start it at an early age, like, shooting guns and stuff like that. But it was always been something I had to, work at. And then it just was that much more rewarding, whenever, you are successful or whatever. So yeah, I love it. No.
That's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple of years. I mean, you guys have killed some monster bucks, both of you.
We have a good time with it.
Oh, yeah.
Just fantastic. So let's talk about the terrain where you're hunting a little bit. I'm very curious. Tell me about the surroundings. What's the woods to field ratios? What type of timber we're looking at, and what crops? What do we give us the landscape of what we're dealing with here?
I'll tell you what, man. We hunt Kansas, Illinois, Indiana. So that's probably our three major states. We'll go on a little bit of early season, late season hunts that just kind of pop up. We don't do a whole lot of outfitters, so pretty picky on the way I do things. But early season, late season, I don't mind going on stuff like that. But for the most part, across those three states, you kind of see a lot of different types of terrain. And that was, so we see a little bit of everything. Here in Indiana, the Hoosier State here, that we do a lot of our hunting, it's all a lot of coal mine ground, old mine ground.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of it's spoil hills, so that black dirt soil you can't plant anything on, pine needle stuff that, I tell you what, it takes a long time to learn how to hunt that stuff, but once you figure it out, usually you can almost set your watch to when it's going to get good. It's only going to be a short little window. And then, there's also a lot of clear cut stuff that if it's not that it's the mine and owned it, but they logged it all, and it was an eyesore for a year or two. And once you realized, once it grew all back up, how much more wildlife it held, it ended up becoming thicker and woolly as heck. So a lot of it's, we hunt real nasty, thick stuff that busts right up to ag fields.
Okay.
So it actually works out pretty good because, your food to bed is so close. I mean, a lot of times they could be 50, 60 yards in.
Right.
And you can sneak right up on them as long as you're, playing the wind right and your access is good. The only problem is you got to have a lot of those spots because, you got to kind of, you're going to run a lot of deer off and you can only hunt them so often before the gigs up, So, and then Kansas, one of our favorite states to hunt. It's a lot of rolling hills, it's big ridges and stuff, so it's a little tougher to hunt. But of course, it's more geared around bow hunting. That state, the rifle season doesn't come in until December 4th, last 10 days, and it's out. So it's really benefits the bow hunter. $1 state comes in the middle of September. It really gives you in Indiana. Our gun season comes in, firearm season comes in middle of November. It's like right in the peak of the breeding season. And once that first shot brings out, it gets tough, especially with the bow and arrow. So, and in Illinois, we do a lot of big hardwoods.
Okay.
Real big, beautiful, pretty hardwoods, but it's tough to hunt, man. The big timber is tough stuff, especially with a bow because you just can't get in. You got to hunt the edges a lot. And of course, they don't bed in one particular spot all the time. A lot has to depend on what the wind's doing. It's where they're bedding at. And once that foliage drops, it's tough. But we hunt a lot of edges. We do a lot of edge hunting. Now,
Okay.
when it gets time to get aggressive, we'll get in there a little bit. But.
Gotcha. And are you doing primarily bow hunting?
Yeah, that's our love. We're talking 80% bow hunting.
Okay.
But we're not too proud to whip out a muzzleloader or shotgun. We like big deer in general, so if it's legal and it's in, and we got a big dude that we need to get down, and he's driving us nuts, if it's legal and it's in, we're not afraid to whip it out.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad to hear that because I love bow hunting. Don't get me wrong, but I like the guns too. So I like it when a hunter can say I'm not ashamed to pull out a firearm.
Oh, heck no.
I think that's good to hear. And I like hunting both of them, but there's definitely times of the year that I like to enjoy a firearm over a bow or a bow over a firearm. It just depends on the season.
Yeah.
Or the territory,
man.
The terrain. If I'm going in after a big deer and it's super thick and it's just not conducive to a bow shot or a healthy bow shot, I'm going in with a firearm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you,
heck yeah.
that bow just doesn't give off that gunpowder smell I like.
Right. Yeah, we're in love with big mature deer. Yeah. So that's what we're in love with.
That's awesome. Well, I'm curious to pick your brain when we get into a little further down the road here about what you've learned how to hunt each spot. And you said it's it's difficult to hunt that. I think it was that one spot in Kansas, and you had to really kind of know what you're doing. I'm very curious to hear what that's all about. We'll get into that in a little bit when Dusty takes over the mic here.
Hello.
So you have some skill sets. You're hunting in some fantastic whitetail areas. You've developed some skills and you know your terrain. Are these places pressure points, or not pressure points, but pressure places? Do they get other activity from other hunters? You said you weren't hunting outfitters, but what's the pressure like from other hunters where you're going?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, when you grew up in Indiana, it's definitely a very popular whitetail state, and there's a lot of,
especially this area.
Oh, yeah, this area is very popular. We have some really, really big deer around here. It's pretty good genetics, but just the problem is just a lot of hunting pressure, and we have almost, 31 days of gun hunting?
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, it starts from the middle of November, and then you got your shotgun rifle now. I actually just introduced rifle last year. Still not sure how I feel about that one yet. And then you got muzzleloader, and then you got like a late doe hunting. So, I mean, it makes it tough. So you got to get, and it doesn't really get good usually in this area, just with weather in general as well, till in October, just like a lot of Midwest states. So you get like 2 weeks of pretty good bow hunting that you have to get it done before first gun cracks off. And then, that first week can be pretty good. You can use a lot of that to your advantage. But after that, and it's far and few between on big mature whitetail. They're smart for a reason. It's because of all the pressure. But yeah, we have a lot of pressure. Primarily how I grew up hunting, it's been, never been real good at knocking on the door and getting permission. I just hated to hound people at their house, pounding on their door.
Sure.
So we've always kind of, our rule of thumb, when I was in college, leasing started to become popular in this area. And of course we had a lot of mine ground, and all this mine owned all this ground, and they got sick of people riding their ATVs and doing other things on their properties without their permission and afraid for liability. So they started leasing all their stuff, and they leased it back then, $7 an acre, which is fairly affordable, and it was pretty good hunting ground.
I remember thinking that was high.
Oh, I know. And what we did was we got on big groups. One lease would be 1,000 acres with 16 guys on it. Not everybody really knows everybody. It's not public, but it is. I mean, it's somebody that knows that guy, which is better than going hunting public ground that you just don't know anybody. Yep. So you have at least a little bit idea who's on it.
Okay.
A couple $100 a guy, and he could hunt it all year. But like me, I did 2 or 3 leases like that. I think we had another one that was about 1,500 acres with 24 guys on it, and then a couple other just you know what I mean. We had 2 or 3 of those, and I was primarily a bow hunter back then, to where that was the only thing I did, and these guys were all gun hunters, so I could usually get first dibs and get out there and get one dead before the guns started flying. And so it was public ground, but not really, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like it's by permission, but the permission is sounds like it's given out quite a bit, so it almost makes it like a public land hunt in essence.
Yep.
Obviously not quite as stressed as that, but close enough.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like your hunt clubs down south.
Right.
Just not as big as big acreage,
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So there's the deer become aware that there's more than one guy or gal on these pieces of property, and that you need to add that into your formula for success.
Mm-hmm. They're very nocturnal around here in Indiana. As in like Kansas, they're not near as nocturnal. Just the terrain's kind of tough to hunt, with thermals and the way the wind swirls a lot with those big deep hollers and draws and stuff. But here, the ground lays pretty well for the most part. It's pretty flat. So your wind's always pretty good, but that's half your battle, is getting your thermals, your wind right. But they're pressured so much that they're so nocturnal. I mean, you could be so many times you've been in the right spot, and I mean, you can't make them walk during daylight. That's the one thing. You check your cameras 2 weeks later, and they walked right by an hour after you got down. You did everything right, but legally you can't make them walk during daylight. So
okay.
When they're so pressured, it's tough.
Let's tell me a little bit about your television strategies. You've got to you decided to start filming some of this fantastic footage that you're on. Tell me about the television show.
Right. I started off, I've been filming, I've always had a love for filming stuff ever since, I think it was my first video camera I got was my freshman year. I got it for Christmas. It was one of the little tapes, the big 8mm tapes.
Yep.
And I was so pumped up to get that.
It was freshman year in high school, wasn't it?
Yeah, freshman year in high school. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And I was so pumped up to get that thing. And, me and Dad always did a lot of turkey scouts before season come in just to get pumped up. And so we started filming everything. So I got pretty familiarized with the camera pretty early. And then I just kept graduating up and got more and more love with it. We filmed all our turkey hunts, did a ton of that, and anything else that we do. But whitetail was it's always so tough to fool a big whitetail's nose the way it is with one guy. And you throw 2 guys in there, and you're not doing nothing with your footage. You're not editing it. You're not putting it anywhere. So I really didn't get too serious about filming whitetails till actually probably till Krysten really started getting serious with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already sitting there with her. I thought, well, heck, I might as well be filming it. I was coaching her through a lot of her hunts, you know, and I thought I might as well be filming this, and that's kind of how that got rolling.
Yeah.
And then, well, Krysten, you can kind of talk. When we first got into the TV side of it, was actually with you.
Yeah, with the all women's hunting show, and then so it was kind of like, you know, we had to film, so we had to take the camera out. Deer hunting. And then not long before that, I had started hunting by myself, deer hunting, bow hunting mostly, wasn't it, by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed being out there, but I missed, you know, him being with me. It wasn't the same. And then that way, whenever we took the video camera, like you said, it was something that we had to do together. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I just kind of doubt everything whenever I'm by myself, but just having him there and like the security, I feel, like whatever choice I'm going to make or whenever I'm going to take the shot, it's just like, it's right. Just having him there. So
yeah, she always knows the right decision, but she,
I don't know about that.
Yeah. She likes to, hear me confirm it.
Yeah.
So it was nice. You know, I actually, to back up a little bit, sorry to get ahead of myself there, but I actually started filming what kind of got my foot really in the door of the industry. I think I was a freshman in college, sophomore in college, sorry. I started filming for a buddy here locally that he was with. That was back when, if you guys remember, not the Muzzy Big Game Extreme DVDs that they had.
Sure, yeah.
Mike Miller was his name. He was on there doing stuff, and he was pretty cool. He shot, still does this day. He shoots compound with fingers and no sights. So that's what I thought was the coolest thing. And he hunted big game all over the world. And so I started filming him, and I told him, you know, I'd do it for free just for the experiences, to be able to go all over the place and see the different things, and obviously in return just introducing to the right people and learning a lot. And that was kind of my, once I fell in love with the outdoor industry, and I wanted to do it. I've always been a fan as a little kid, watching everybody growing up, being a fan of everybody. I mean, there's not too many people in the industry that I didn't know growing up that I wasn't a fan of, and that just kind of sparked that for me, and I just kind of instilled that in Krysten, and just kind of ran with it as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, she started where she started was the Dress to Kill, 2012, I think it was. Yeah. And that's with Tammy Gregory. She started the show Dress to Kill TV, and it was an all women's show. Of course, we didn't know how that was going to go with a bunch of women, but we knew that it had a pretty cool idea. It had never been done, and it was a bunch of pretty girls that in a normal day life, you know, you would.
They made me feel more normal. Like, you know, you could still, you know, be like me, be prissy, get your, you know, have your hair done, get your nails done, but still go out and hunt and be just as serious as the guys, you know.
Right.
And it was pretty cool. I mean, and our conversations were definitely pretty interesting. We would go from talking about, you know, hair and nails to hunting and big bucks and all that, and strategizing and all that. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, we got pretty close to the years and stuff. So yeah, it was neat.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of neat. I mean, it was an experience. I think there's a lot of things about it that definitely walked away with some pretty cool, interesting stuff that we've kind of taken from it, and it's been fun since then. We just keep meeting new people and growing. It's been an awesome ride, that's for sure.
Very cool. So it was more or less just a development where you did some videography and you were hunting big deer, and that kind of expanded into an opportunity, it sounds like, on a show, and now where do you want to take it from here?
Well, everybody, we get that all the time. They're like, when are you going to have your own show? And I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And now we got the shop and stuff. But we enjoyed what we're doing now. We film for Real Tree Outdoors, and we're working with Philip Vanderpool with the Virtue and to
Carbon TV.
Yeah, Carbon TV. And then
Nice.
And we just we're going to do some stuff with Respect the Game, Elites Respect the Game on the Sportsman Channel with Larry McCoy and those guys.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of different platforms.
Gotcha.
We would love to have our own show one day, but right now the industry, you guys probably agree with us, is so saturated with TV shows right now that we don't have any cost in anything. And of course, you guys see the cost of having your own show.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, they don't pay you all that stuff. You got to pay them to be on the
That's right.
Sports Without Their channel. You got to pay your producer. And as far as I'm concerned, you're as good as your producer is these days. If you don't have the money to dish out for a good producer, then your show's just not going to make it unless you're just awesome. You're just so unique and have something to bring to the table that nobody else has, which is just about non-existent anymore. I just don't. Now it's not the time, especially with the way TV's going right now. I feel like a lot of it on the Sportsman Outdoor channel. I think so much is going web-based that it's a lot cheaper. And not to say we won't ever eventually do something like that, but we're pretty we're having a freaking awesome,
right now.
Gotcha.
Awesome time doing what we're doing right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're having fun, and you're distributing your content, you're doing what you like to do, and you're still getting noticed, so that's pretty dark.
And that's the thing, man. We love it so much that we've kind of made a pact that if it gets to where it's not having fun anymore, we were going to kind of, we don't want to, we enjoy it. It is a lot of hard work, don't get me wrong, but it's, we enjoy doing it.
It's fun work.
It's fun work,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we want to keep it that way.
Very
we don't
cool.
want it to be like a job.
Nice. All right, so I'm eager to turn the mic over to Dusty Phillips here and have him really dig deep into your strategies and techniques that you guys are using to kill these monster deer. It's unbelievable. So I want Dusty to kind of be the strategist here and see if he can figure out what makes you guys tick.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I heard one of you say hanging out at the shop here lately. What's going on there?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what's happened because it's been me that's been stuck here lately. So he has, and I didn't say too much because he did, cater to me a lot. He one-handed this turkey season, and he put a lot of work in. But opening day here in Indiana this year, I was in the shop and Josh was out hunting with the guys. So I'm not really sure how that one worked out, but it's okay. He took me the second day, and I got it done. So then that was what he did. He got me tagged out quick so that he could just go and take everyone else and go have fun.
Right. She's just never happy, guys. I mean, she killed 5 birds at that point in 4 days of hunting, and she's a killer. I mean, she can't stop. It's a problem for her. And I had to explain to her. I said, a lot of other people want to go. They've not even killed a bird yet. Let's take some friends first.
I am pretty lucky because he usually lets me be up to bat first all the time. So I probably shouldn't even give him much crap about that. But
that's right.
For sure. So the new shop's going to be Shooters Archery. And when do you think you'll have your grand opening for Shooters Archery?
Oh, gosh.
We've been shooting first of June, hopefully. Again, we're just switching everything over. And it's been a headache as far as
good headache.
Yeah, it's just all the paperwork,
all
the
stuff,
problem. And of course, we bought out somebody else, so we got a lot of inventory in here that we've got to, could be a little bit out of date. And you got to get, of course, when you switch over, you got to get all the new stuff. So doing all that stuff, been right in the middle of moving back to Kansas, and then possibly buying a new house. And gosh, it's been hectic. It's been hectic, but we wouldn't change it for anything.
No, I'm super glad to be back home.
Right, yeah, for sure. And it sounds like you guys work better under pressure anyway.
Oh, we do. That's how we do things.
That's the only thing. That's the only way we put out the best work to do.
Yeah.
Very good. So new archery shop opening up, Shooters Archery there in Indiana. And best of luck with all of that. Let's get into some hunting techniques. And, if you guys don't know Josh and Krysten, just get on social media and check them out. I'm telling you, you're going to see some great caliber bucks and some paintbrush beards on long beards and amazing turkeys and whitetails. But what I'm really interested in hearing about is some of these whitetails. And Josh, we'll start out with you. Tell us,
hit me.
What's your favorite state to hunt? And we'll go there and kind of break it down. Tell us what your favorite state to hunt is.
Oh, man. I'd have to say Kansas. And the only reason I say Kansas is because I love their foundation to their management practices out there as far as it's one buck state. It comes in middle of September, and the rifle season doesn't come in until usually around December 4th. So it's past the peak of the breeding season. And it just seems like out there, it only lasts 10 days. And by that time, a lot of guys just aren't even messing with it at that point. And it just seems like you can get you can grow a big deer out there. There's just as good a deer here in Indiana as there is out there. It's just to get into that age class is the problem around here. And get him, when they get to that age class, to get him to walk during daylight. And out there, I don't see people as often. Maybe it's just where we're at. We just don't see near. And to us, it's not a lot of people out there. And to the locals, it's probably overran with people. But after you hunt here in Indiana and you see an opening day gun season, I mean, it is the orange army everywhere. So you go out there and you just don't even see. You go in the local diner, local town there, you don't even see anybody wearing hunter orange around. You don't see anybody pulling forward, nothing on their opening day gun season. It's just kind of like, wow.
low pressure is what you're telling us then.
Yes. That's what I love about it. I mean, the terrain's not necessarily easy to hunt. It's big, wide open timber. So, by November, it just you can't move around much. You got to hope that you can't get in tight on. And that's sometimes you got to get in there, but you just can't. So you got to hope they come out to you. But they're not pressured and they're walking during daylight. So you got to fight a chance when they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage you think that low pressure? Let's go on like a 1 to 10 low pressure daylight movement. Give me a 1 to 10. That's a key factor in killing a mature whitetail.
10 being the highest. I mean, that's every bit of it. I mean, if they don't, I can't tell you how many times in Indiana that I've had that. I know I'm in the right spot. Everything's perfect. There's everything. You waited for that one day to come in to hunt that one particular buck, and I've been in there and I didn't see him. And a week later, I come back and check the camera, and he came in an hour after I had left. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you did it right. I mean, you beat him for the most part. You calculated it. All the history you had everything down to a T. You had the core area shrunk down. You found the sheds. You had the pictures, but he just didn't walk during daylight. And if they don't walk during daylight because they're pressured so much and they're just so educated, there's nothing you can do about it. So that's why that's the biggest factor to me. I mean, it's already hard enough to kill a big whitetail with a bow and arrow, big mature dude. When you throw in that factor on top of it, it's really the odds really stacked against you.
Right. What do you do when you run into a scenario that you're hunting a high pressure deer that's virtually impossible to hunt? Is there any tactics that you use to maybe change the game?
I like to have, especially like Indiana, I like to have as much ground as I can, and I run as many cameras as I can, and those cameras let me know what deer are killable. I feel like personally that a lot of the deer are like people, and they have a lot of different personalities. Some are aggressive, some are shy, some are, lovers, not fighters, and some are daylight walkers, and some just will not walk during daylight. And it has nothing to do with the size of the rack on their head. It's just all what the deer's personality is. And personally, I run enough, so many cameras, I get a feel for that deer, especially after you get, once he gets to about 5.5, 6.5, and you've had 2-3 years of the history of him, you found his sheds every year, you get trail cam pictures of him every year, you really start to get, you feel like that deer, you know him so well, you really start to get a personality with him. You can get a feel. Is he aggressive? Is he, can I call that deer in the right circumstances? Would he never come into a call? So I never want to try that. Does he walk during daylight all the time? Does he walk only with high pressure nights? When the moon's, you get a feel and you kind of write a log and kind of get a feel for each particular deer. Well, you run enough cameras and do enough scouting and leg work in the off season, you start to learn these deer, know these deer, and I'll just go after. A lot of times I just go after I won't waste time on a pressured deer until he shows me enough that says, hey, it's time to get in there. I just won't even go after him. I'll just go after a different one. And if you bounce around enough, you'll find that deer that can be killed, and that's the one I go after. That's the key in Indiana for me. Now, some of the other states, it's not like Kansas is the one. I just keep going back to Kansas. I love because the big mature deer out there, they just don't have, when the time's right and the weather's right and the pressure's right, so they have no problem walking during daylight. And they're a lot more aggressive out there. So you can bang the horns together as long as you get yourself in the right situation where they're not going to circle down wind on you all the time and or whatever. And then you can bang the horns together a lot of times or snort wheeze them, grunt them in, whatever. But yeah.
I got a feeling that you're kind of explaining this. They're having attitudes and, some that are talkative and not vocal and some that It sounds like you without the coffee in the morning.
Right, man. This is what we do. This is what we live for, man. I spend hours and hours on a computer just looking at every trail cam picture and just studying the deer when he's 2.5, 3.5, and then by the time he's, that age, he's a lot of times he's at 6.5. It's only because he's slipped through the cracks long enough. But it seems like the older they get, the more I get to know them, and it seems almost like they're, I wouldn't say easier to kill, but I feel more confident about going after them than I did back when they were 4,
Right.
So you just start to figure them out much more.
Right. Is there any particular things that pop in your mind that you can notice in a photo that can make you read a buck?
Yeah, you know what? I use this example all the time. Back in 2011, I killed a 191-inch deer.
Out of my stand with my gun.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, bad connection there.
Yeah, Krysten couldn't go that day, and I did shoot it out of her stand. She'd always give me crap about that. I totally forgot. I set myself up for that one.
You did.
But this particular spot, ever since I found it, it was just an awesome funnel, awesome pinch point, especially for cruising bucks and that Thanksgiving time. Like Thanksgiving time every year, the big mature dudes are always cruising. It's rocking right there. And it took me like 3 years. And I told Krysten ever since I found the spot, I said, one of these days we're going to kill a giant buck right here. I said, it's too perfect. And it just the wind that you just first glance, the wind that you would hunt it with, which the normal person would hunt it with. Every time I hunted, I'd never see nothing, but I'd always get tons of trail cam pictures of there. It's always that middle of November. I'd say the second week of November to the end of November, it was just always rocking. And I'd go in there and never see a doe. I wouldn't even see a year and a half year old. And I didn't hunt it. I'd only hunt it 2 or 3 times a year, and only when the conditions were right. And it took me by the third year, I actually had a particular buck I was after in there that ended up getting shot late October. So I was pretty bummed out about it. He wasn't nothing monster. He was just a 5.5-year-old dude that I had a lot of history with and had a lot of attitude. I really wanted to shoot him. Well, I hadn't seen a whole lot of other bucks. Well, once he got killed, it just seemed like it opened up the floodgates. He was a big bully, so it opened up the floodgates, and all these new bucks were kind of coming through. Well, I started paying attention and logging what my trail cameras were showing me. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. And I was just hunting the edge, and I couldn't quite figure it out. And finally, I started keeping track of what the wind directions were when these deer were cruising through there. And it was actually opposite of what I always would think they would use. And I needed some sort of west wind, which was it was splitting hairs big time on getting in there without everything knowing you were there. And so I started logging every mature buck that it was, whether it was morning, evening, dark, daylight, there was always some sort of west wind. And I kind of logging that, started putting it together. And I'm like, well, how can I still hunt this? And this being my favorite and then still being his favorite. And the first time in, after I finally kind of figured out an idea, I went in, there was this huge front coming through, and I knew they'd be on their feet early. I went in there, and sure as heck, this dude comes strolling by like 60 yards, and I bust him with a slug gun. It'd be like, I think it was the last Saturday, it was the last of their firearm season that year. And that was trail cameras. I mean, if it wasn't for trail cameras, I would have never known that. I just kind of kept logging it. After 3 years, it took me 3 years, never real quick about it. And I always kind of hang out and kind of observe and then attack. I just kind of sit back and just learn, and then put all the pieces together and went in and killed him. And that's just one of many, many examples. But it's the one that always kind of popped in my head that I would have never killed that deer because that just didn't make any sense. But if it wasn't for the cameras telling me that, I would have never known that,
Right, for sure. How do you log your information about what the deer movement's like and what the wind's like?
Usually I like to put it, today's smartphones, man. I got an iPhone. I've had an iPhone since they came out, in the notes section on the iPhone, which is just, one of the apps that kind of come with the phone. I log everything in that thing. Every time I see something, every time something pops in my mind, every deer, especially if I start to get a little bit of history with him, and especially I know he's a homebody, and I know he's going to stay on that piece for a while. Every time I see something, I'll put it down. And then over 2 or 3 years, you go back to those notes, and you're like, oh, I forgot I wrote that down. If I hadn't wrote it down, I probably wouldn't remember it half the time. And
right.
Especially those little things that you see, and you can sit there, it'll be 12 o'clock at night, and I'm about half asleep. I'm just rolling through all the pictures I got of that dude, and then all of a sudden, boom, something will hit me, and then I'll write it down, and then all of a sudden, over 2 or 3 years, all the dots start to connect. And the sheds and trail camera pictures and then of course encounters. You put those three together, man, the dots really start to connect. You start to see that core area, and it starts to shrink a little bit each year. He gets older, and other bucks kind of different, but we've had bucks that 5-acre areas, 10-acre areas, kind of their home core, and that's it.
And they stay pretty much in that vicinity then.
Yeah, every buck's different, but we've seen some 6-molt curly in a big 206 Krysten shot. He was pretty much living on about a 10-acre area, 20-acre tops. I mean, he was living all over that.
Mm-hmm. No kidding. So you just said a 206. Krysten, it's your turn. Josh is out.
I know he's being a my talk.
Guys, I'm obsessed with whitetails. I can talk all night long about them.
I love it, though, man. It's great information.
It really is.
That's what it's all about, That's why we do this podcast, because we can actually dig into that Rolodex of your mind and learn some new things and techniques and skill sets that a lot of times every show is a different conversation, and
right.
We always are educating not only ourselves but the listeners,
right.
and then everybody appreciates, and we appreciate that you guys open up like you're doing and let it all flow out. And Josh, I'm telling you, dude, you got a bad addiction. You're sick with it, man. That's that's okay.
I got a bit of a problem.
We love that.
Yeah. I got a problem.
let's get some techniques on the female side of things, and tell us that what's different in your mindset versus Josh's mindset. And I know Josh was your teacher and your educator through this whole process. But I'm sure that you've picked up your own style. Being a female, it's always there's something that the guy's not right about. And I know there's things that let's break it down from a female's perspective.
Okay, well, I'd say the biggest thing is, the way we dress. Like we both look at, the Weather Channel and see what it's going to be. But I can't ever ask him. So I'll be like, I think women just in general get colder, when they're out in the woods. And, so I'll ask him, what are you going to wear? Like, how many layers are you going to wear? And then, I can't really ever go off that because, I always feel like I need an extra layer too. But I don't know, that's something I think we are different on. And I had to kind of figure that out more on my own. That's probably the biggest thing. And then,
and the feel of your bow and things like that are totally different.
Yes. Yeah. On my yardage, since I have a lower poundage and lower draw length, I have to be more precise on my yardage. Like we laugh about it and joke and that I'm like a compulsive clicker or a compulsive ranger because I could sit in the tree and we always practice everything. Like I'll draw my bow in every situation, like the deer's here to there or whatever, and I'll range trees that are close and stuff. So I'll have an idea in my head exactly what the yardage is, but it never fails. Like that deer comes in and I'm still have my rangefinder in my hand clicking like crazy, and Josh is like, okay, it's under 20, like stop clicking for God's sake.
He's at 12 yards. She goes, how far is he?
Yeah.
Or she'll just go into something like that, and I'll be like,
I'll be like, top 10, yeah.
You're good.
I know, yeah. That's funny. And then another thing is, and I'm sure all the ladies out there can agree with me on this one that hunt with their husbands or boyfriends, but when he's ready to get to the stand, in or out or whatever, especially stalking, I guess I should say, they're a lot taller than us typically, and sometimes it's hard to keep up. And then, he's like, okay, walk in my steps, so it'll be quieter. Well, your steps quite a bit longer than mine. So, that's one thing too we clash about, because I don't know. It's caused some fights, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's hard for her to keep up with my long legs.
It is. Yeah, we've had some Snapchat videos about that.
Yeah.
Makes sense, though. There's that's something that's overlooked by a male going in the woods with a female, as far as the stride and you're in deeper snow. It makes sense. What obstacles have you ever overcome as far as shooting capabilities, male versus female? Is there things that you had to learn that maybe Josh didn't know? Is there vice versa? Tell me some of the scenarios that you come into as far as shooting a bow.
Yeah, I think just mainly just focusing on shot angles. Just like I said, being lower poundage and lower draw length, my shot has to be really precise. And, I only feel comfortable with that broadside shot. Some of the shots that the guys can get away with, I don't really feel as comfortable with, and especially with the lower poundage, I don't, I wouldn't get as much penetration as a guy was shooting, 80 pounds or whatever. So I'd say that's the biggest thing. Just
yeah, you've really had to learn to be extremely more patient than me. I think that's been the biggest struggle for me. Not to cut you off there, but this is something good for a lot of women or guys getting their women or kids involved. Is a guy can get away with a lot more marginal shots sometimes, and it's taught me to be a lot better ethical on my shots too that I didn't so much before. But her, it's got to be perfect. And she shoots 52 pounds with a 26-inch draw, so she's probably shooting a little bit more kinetic energy than a lot of females or women, and but it has to be perfectly broadside or quartered away. Even better quartered away if we can. That shot, her shot has to be precise because she might not get the penetration that you or I would. And I think that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that I had to learn the whole thing. But go ahead there. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. That's kind of important there.
Yeah, that makes sense though. With less poundage, shot placement's a huge factor. That's a great, somewhat of a tip there for a female hunter to consider. But when you're hunting, how is the tree stands as far as I don't know what you guys are hunting. What do you guys usually hunting? Hang-ons, ladders? What do you guys normally
hang-on
with?
Yep.
Okay. So when you're hunting, is the tree stand, is the seat and everything comfortable for you, or is it something that they need to make a female tree stand with a particular seat? Is there something that needs to be changed there?
Yeah, I ran into that a few times. Mostly, I stand to shoot. So mostly, we just stand on the platform. But yeah, there's been several stands where the seat is up a little too high, and like I'll be sitting on the seat, and my feet like actually aren't even touching the platform. I know, I've bragged about that a few times to Josh.
Right.
So yeah, I never thought about that, but that would be awesome to have like a tree stand, specific for women.
Yeah, it's pretty much like
that
a shorter spine would make it easier for female, especially somebody, where I'm 6'1" and a hang-on stand's my worst enemy. I don't like them, but I'm a big guy and it's not for me. But I could see where on stand for a male versus a female, why wouldn't they come out with a smaller spine that has a lower seat to the footing? It just, you guys got the archery shop. Let's get this thing rolling.
Let's do it.
It just makes sense, though. I mean, I completely understand where you could be sitting there, you go to buy a recliner for Josh and versus you.
Yeah.
Need a bigger recliner, but it makes sense. That's something that it's often overlooked in the male-dominated industry, and it's something that we need to stop and consider. That's for sure. What about camouflage? I'm going to ask you what kind of camo you're wearing, because obviously you're female, and obviously there again it's kind of a male-dominated sport of camouflage and archery hunting. What do you do for comfortable camouflage for a female?
Well, I wear Realtree. And then the women's UA Hunt line. There is nothing warmer than it. I've wore some other brands and absolutely froze my butt off. But Under Armour, they have a great women's line. It fits good. It's more tailored for women. So it's not like, big and baggy, but it's very comfortable. And they have a really good layering system, too. There's thinner layers all the way to, big, thick one. And, I've wore even several layers underneath or whatever, just depending on the situation I'm in. Like hunting out in Kansas, it's super windy. It's, 20 miles an hour, it seems like on a good day. There's always a crazy wind, and it's been hard for me to learn how to dress for that. But in on a windy day out there, like when we're hunting up top, I put on several layers, and I can still put on all those layers and not be restricted to shoot a bow. Still be able to, have all that range and not be, bound up like some other clothing do. So
very good. What about boots? What are you using for cold climate boot wise?
For boots, I am wearing the women's, the UA, the brow tine boot. I have the one that has it's for early season that doesn't have much insulation. But for when it's cold and late season, there's I think isn't it 1200 grain?
Yeah, you've pretty much got all the layers.
I do have all of them, but those are the warmest I've found because and my feet are always cold.
Yeah,
always. It doesn't matter.
We found out that it's best you need to have multiple pair of boots for.
Yeah,
we hunt from early to late. 3-4 months of the year, so you have to have all the different layers.
But they're my favorite for sure. They're more of a hiking type style boot, but just with the insulation.
Gotcha.
I tried them out a few years ago, and that seems to have been the warmest.
Obviously, scent control is a huge factor. Is there any particular shampoos or conditioners that you kind of use throughout the season to reduce the scent? Obviously, Bath and Body Works. I don't know. Gingerbread pumpkin is not going to be your best option.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. And I have a really good friend. She, her and her husband are very, very serious into the bow hunting and scent and stuff. And, I would, early in my hunting career, I would try to slip in, every once in a while I'd use the good stuff, and just hope Josh shouldn't find out. And, I don't know if he even knows this, but some of my best bucks I have shot on days that I used the bed.
Yeah, needless to say,
we had a good wind.
Needless to say, the wind has to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there's several. I was going to say about her. But she actually, she starts her scent-free regimen a month before deer season comes in, just to completely get all that scent out of her hair. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, are you crazy? But I started doing that, and the first year I started doing it, I started seeing a lot more success, deer getting closer and not getting winded near as much at all. But there's several good women's lines out there that don't tear up your hair as bad. What's that one? The last one I was using.
Nose jammer.
Oh yeah, I finally got him to let me try out some nose jammer this year, and
all she does is complain about how she spends all this money on her hair.
I do, and then I run it with all the scent-free stuff.
And I make her use all the scent-free products. And I mean, in the last probably 8 to 10 years, you've been really good about it. But the
Yeah,
couple
I have.
years, the wind had to be perfect, and now you slowly get away with a little bit more. It's just, when there's two people in a tree and women in their smelly good stuff, and then camera gear and everything else, it's hard to get away with anything. But yeah, this year that nose jammer stuff.
Yep, and it still smells good, and it definitely, my hair was a lot better. When I went back to get my hair done, my hairdresser, she was definitely like, oh, she's like, I can tell you've been doing something different.
That makes sense. I mean, it's got to be brutal on a long hair and trying to run scent free stuff open. I mean, I've got short hair, and it makes me feel like I'm just like disgusting on my hair whenever you repeatedly take a shower and that stuff. And I get what you're saying there. Is there any particular brand of shampoo that you kind of lead towards as far as the scent free?
I tried a lot of different stuff. I think the Doe Girl stuff. But it was pretty good as far as like the conditioner goes. It was actually felt like real conditioner. And it's completely scent free.
The nose jammer's probably your favorite.
Yeah, but the nose jammer's been my favorite.
Yeah, if you guys that know me, I'm extremely anal about my scent.
Yes.
And back when I felt like I could get away with murder back when I was hunting by myself. And then now filming and her, it's been tricky. The thermals have to be right. The wind has to be right. There's no getting down in the bottom somewhere and getting away with anything swirling winds. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense, it all adds up, and in the end, it's something that in reality you got to focus on if you want to kill mature bucks.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Very good. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground there, Jade. Let's get in some hunting.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, I asked you in the beginning to think of your most memorable deer hunt. Sometimes I'm sure that's going to be kind of hard for both of you. You probably had several memorable deer hunts, but I'm wondering if there's a couple that stuck out, and I'd like to hear the play-by-play, slow it down, real detailed type of description of how this thing unfolded. And I think,
go ahead,
Krysten.
Let's start with you. Let's where are we going to go on your hunt?
Okay. Well, mine is in Kansas. A few years ago, I shot what Josh was talking about, the curly, the 206, and it wasn't just my most memorable hunt because it was, such a big deer. Because a lot of people say that, of course, that's going to be her most memorable hunt, But I mean, I had a lot going on at that time. My stepbrother had just recently tragically passed away. It was so sudden, and it was just something that just kind of ripped our family apart and just kind of made me feel like I wasn't even excited about hunting that year. It was just kind of a different year for us, and we had hunted in Indiana really hard, and hadn't even seen a deer close. It was just ridiculous. And the opportunity came up to go to Kansas even earlier that year. And we went out, we were filming, just like normal and stuff. And I actually that morning took with me my stepbrother's arrowhead that I had just, to remember him. And I had it with me in my pocket that hunt. And I remember I climbed up in that stand, and Josh, we actually had seen the buck that we were after. We'd seen Curly that day before. Mm-hmm. So we had just put that set up to kind of, get more closer to his core area and be where we wanted to be. And I climbed up in that stand, and I whacked my head really good on that camera stand. And, oh, my gosh, I waited. I could not wait for Josh to get up to that stand, and I just let him have it. I'm surprised we even seen a deer. We didn't scare him all away. So I was like, are you kidding me, And I'm not really a morning person. Honestly, the only reason I get up early is for deer hunting, really.
Okay, yep.
But anyway, and I was just mad, and I was sitting there, I was just, mad at the world. And I told Josh, I was like, there's a deer. I'm like, it's a buck. I'm like, it's a pretty good buck. And he was like, okay, just get ready, and it happened so quick. And he was like, that's him. And we were just watching the hunt the other day, and it cracks me up because, there again, me with my ranging, he's literally not even 15 yards, and I'm still caught with my rangefinder in my hand. And, we had done minimal trimming, because we didn't want to disturb that area or anything because we knew, we were in his bedding area right there, right in his bedroom. So we had cut on that side, literally one shooting hole. And Josh stopped him, and it was so funny when he stopped him, his voice, it was a little kid going through puberty or something. He was like, stop! Like that.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely a desperate man.
It was very desperate, yeah.
And if you guys have seen the footage, she had this big toboggan on, and she couldn't hear nothing I was saying. And I was talking to her, and I kept saying, draw.
No, it wasn't like that. It was draw.
Draw your bow.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could have like stole the bow from me and just shot. Like I was stressing you out.
I could see it all unfolding, and I knew that deer was going to get to that hole. And once he got to that hole, that was the only hole she had, and he was so close. And she was just like, she was calm as a cucumber, though. I'm just like, what'd you say? I said, draw your.
I don't know if I was calm.
Well, I mean, I'll never forget how calm you seemed.
Well, at least I seemed calm anyway.
Of course, then I had to stop him, and it was so desperate. It was so funny to listen to the desperation.
And then it wasn't over then. I mean, because when we stopped him, he had stopped with that the closest shoulder kind of back a little bit, and I say this is Josh's fault because he said heart shot, and so I held tight to that shoulder, and when he turned, I actually made a good shot. Like I actually slid it right behind the shoulder. But looking at the footage, and it didn't look like I got the greatest penetration, so we thought I hit him in the shoulder, and then I was just a mess. I mean, I was just bawling my eyes out just because of everything I was going through at the time, and then just you have a hunter, you just put all that time into it, and it's not like there's just 200-inch deer everywhere or big deer everywhere, and then just to have that opportunity and then just blow it completely. Like, I mean, I was just devastated, and I thought Josh was going to hate me because I was the one that got to shoot and not him. But anyway, we definitely had a moment, didn't we? I mean, it was crazy, and then I know you were just sitting there and you just kind of thought, well, everything has been so crazy lately, like, it's going to work. Like, we're going to find this deer, And we just sat there together and prayed about it, and we backed out and gave him plenty of time, and we found him. And
we went back and watched the footage.
We did, and we felt better about that. Yeah.
And the problem is why I was so, I'm looking at a little bitty viewfinder, and when I looked at it, and by the time I raised my head and looked up, the arrow was just flopping, and I was sure. When she did, she'd hit the opposite shoulder, which ended up making for a great shot. But I was just for sure that's what you had done. Yeah. And I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
We both were, really.
We both were, yeah.
And she broke down, and she had a moment there with everything that's happened.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Very nice.
Yeah, it all worked out.
Very cool. Well, Josh, how about your most memorable deer hunt, or is it that one as well?
That's definitely right there. I had so many good ones. That one was probably, I don't know. I would have to probably say the first one. That one there, don't get me wrong, that was pretty crazy, and it was unexpected. I mean, we knew the deer was there, and we were going after him. But to have it within the first couple of days, that was pretty crazy. And there had already been some hunters that had already been in there for 9 days hunting before we had got there. So you just never know. But again, those deer were there. Just seemed to walk during daylight a little more often, and don't seem to get the pressure. But I'd say her first good buck was pretty memorable because it was crazy to go back to that. It was funny because I killed my big one in Indiana the year before. That was 2011, and so 2012 I told her she wanted to kill her first pope and young with a bow. And we'd done a lot of gun hunting before that. Like that was kind of her bow season, kind of my time. She'd still go, but that was when I went the most. And then gun season, I just commit the whole gun season to her. And that's when she'd always end up killing a good one most of the time. And she'd finally, in 2012, she was like, you know what? I really want to kill a pope and young, my first pope and young. I said, all right, if there's ever going to be here, I'm going to commit my whole season to getting her a pope and young. It's going to be right after I kill the biggest deer I ever killed. And I said, let's do it. Well, about the same time, that's when the opportunity presented itself to do the all-women show. So, of course, we wanted to come out of the gates and do well with that. And she also wanted to kill, her first pope and young. Well, season rolls around, we have a lot of ups and downs and this and that. And then it gets, prime time. It's that, November 7th time. And it's rocking. And, I think it was November 5th, actually. It was the first good morning. And we had about 130-inch deer come running in.
I still need to see this footage because I don't know.
So, yeah, it still makes me sick. But, it all works out. So, she's wanting to shoot a PNY, the first PNY, and I rattle his buck in. He's super tall, but he's just narrow. He's probably only 12 inches wide, but he's super tall. And he's all over gross in 130s. And he comes in to a tee, and I'd hung the camera stand a little higher, so I couldn't communicate with her as normal. And she's just barely picked up her bow off the bow hook, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, get ready, and this is in the spoil hills I kind of told you guys a little bit earlier about. So it's there they are, and they're gone, just like that. And me and her got into it in that area. And I said, what in the world? I said, why didn't you? He wasn't big enough. He was maybe 100 inches. And I said, no. And she's going off on me, and I'm going off on her. I said, that was a perfect buck. And a lot of guys out there that hunt with women understand that women are very, very picky. Like they set the bar so high right out of the gate. Right. And like us guys, we started off on 4 corns and 6 pointers and button bucks and everything else. So if it was brown, it was down. You know, and the women, they come out of the gates and they're like as picky as can be. Like it's got to be as big as your biggest buck. And they're like, you don't understand. It just doesn't work out that way. So, and I'm telling her this the whole time. And I'm working it up and working. I'm like, you got to understand. You know, your first buck with a bow. I mean, who knows? You might miss the first 6 times. You know, you might get buck fever, and you know, the first good buck, shoot it. Well, so another day goes by, and we had some ups and downs. And so, and you're not feeling well. One day, so the November 6th. It was even November 6th. It was kind of nasty that night.
Yeah.
And we were hunting a thick set, and she lowered her bow down and got caught up in some brush. And I kind of remember a little bit. Yeah. And I didn't think nothing about it. When we went the next morning, and usually we're super anal about checking everything. But when we get in the stand the next morning, we're pulling back, making sure grunt tubes, rangefinders, nothing's in the way, no collar on the jacket's going to get in the way. Make sure we kind of game plan. Okay, we're going to shoot him here, and we're going to stop him here. And we didn't do that morning, which is kind of because you weren't feeling well. And we went back home, and you went to class, and you got done, and I said, okay, we got to get back out there.
And I want to shoot first.
Yeah, so let's go shoot a couple arrows first, make sure everything's still good. And we got out there, and she draws back to shoot. And she goes, what in the world? And I said, what? She lets down, and her top pin from that night before when we lowered down the brush, her top pin had bent completely backwards. And here we are. It's November 7th. We need to be in the tree. It's overcast. It's one of those killing evenings, high pressure. And I'm like, we got to get in the tree. What are we going to do? So now I'm like, what do I do? Do we just not go tonight? You know, fix the, take that pin out and bring all the pins up. And what do we do? Right. And then I'm like, doing Recite in or what?
Well, and I hate that. I hate to recite my bow.
In this particular site at the time, it had a metal housing around the fiber. Yep. And I thought, well, just let me try and see if I can't bend this back. The fiber hadn't broken yet. Yep. So I slowly start bending it back, and I just get it back in place, and it starts to kind of can open on the other side. And the fiber is still good, but it's kind of broke on that one side. So if you even touch it again, it's probably going to snap off. Right. So I'm like, let's just try it just for tonight. So she shot, said, no, it's 20 yards. I said, at least we can go hunting tonight. Because the rest of the pins were good. It was just that pin. Right. And I ain't kidding you. We got in the stand, and we were in the stand 45 minutes, and 171-inch deer comes cruising. And you would have thought this deer comes across the field, comes marching across this field. It's November 7th. There's a field full of does over there. He comes marching. We've not done it. We hadn't called. We hadn't done nothing. And this deer comes marching across the field as if I rattled and grunted. And he comes to the base of the tree. And she shoots him at like 12 yards, like a half walk. Hits him just a little high and a little back because he took a full step right when she shot. But you could see blood instantly. And he was crazy looking deer. He is like real non-typical on one side and the big 4x on the other side. Super tall. He takes off running up the hill, and this is her first deer. The first buck she's ever shot with her bow. It's a 171-inch deer. And I've been telling her about how she needs to shoot these 130s and get it out, gets it off her belt and get her first camera deer and this and that. Right. And here's this deer takes off and he stops. Where she's going nuts, she's freaking out, and I thought he was a little bigger at the time than he was even then. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, you don't know what you just shot. She goes, I didn't look at the horns. I just focused on the shot. Focused on the shot. And as we're talking, and all of a sudden you hear a crash about 60 yards away, and she looked at me and she knew. She looked at my eyes and she come unglued. It was awesome, man. It was one of the coolest feelings as a coach, as a husband. And you've practiced it, and you've tried to teach her, like, when you're practicing, how to stay, like, mentally in the game. Like, this isn't just practicing in the backyard. Like, practicing for the moment. And to keep it cool and calm, and then see it all unfold and see it all come together on that first, not only our first Pope and Young, but, 170 gross boom buck and its first buck with a bow. That was an awesome moment. It really was.
It was fun. And then
you cheered together.
Yeah. And what was funny was, so that spot that I shot that buck, we called it like my little honey hole because it was on that lease property we talked about. It was kind of like, not public, but it is. But it was
a 25-acre little piece.
Yep. And not a lot of the guys knew that that was part of the lease, but the ones that did were kind of like, oh, we'll just let her have it, let her go hunt there. And I had shot my fair share of does in that spot. And Josh, he worked at an archery shop close to there then. And I'd call him every time and I'd be like, I just smoked this doe. You need to come drag her out. Yep. And he would come and, we'd trail blood. And he's
for about 100 yards.
Yeah.
50 yards.
And he's like, are you sure? Yes.
You didn't smoke it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, anyway, so when we found that buck, it was like my little doe graveyard. We found all these doe skulls, and I'm like, see, babe, I did shoot him. Like, I smoked him. Maybe just not as good as I thought.
Yep. Yeah,
kind of funny,
it
wasn't
was
it?
pretty crazy because it was only like a 25-acre piece, so it was pretty, like a little sanctuary. And it seemed
Oh,
like
yeah.
they'd always, and it was right next to a piece that the guy, he was always out in his yard. Like he kind of farmed the ground a little bit, but he was one of those guys that like picked up every stick in his woods.
Yep.
It's kind of like an urban area, really, just outside of town there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an urban / area, and the deer were just kind of used to this guy all the time, every day.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd be out, she'd be texting me all the time, and this guy is like 50 yards with me on his tractors, from me. And I'm like, just get, we still got 2 hours for dark. It's cool.
Just be
We'll be
patient.
all right. And it was just really the doe spot. I mean, that was just kind of where she learned. And she shot a couple does that she learned the hard way. Once again, shot angles and things. The hard lessons you learn when you're a bow hunter. And it's just funny. That's where she ended up shooting at the time. At the time, it was her biggest buck, let alone with bow.
Yeah.
And be on a small. We shoot a lot of big deer on small tracks. At least in Indiana, you got to kind of think outside the box. And so a lot of those, I don't want to really call them urban ground. It's just like life just on the edge of urban ground, where you start to get 80 acres here, 60 acres here, or 20 acres here. That's maybe it's got a factory, or maybe it's got a major highway, a big park, things like that.
That's where we have our most luck, because I think that's what we're used to. Because in Kansas, that setup where I killed Curly, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because we get all this set up, and I'm like, we could see the gravel road. How far do you think we were? Maybe
we were probably 75 yards.
Right, yeah, from the gravel road, and a house with a dog barking his head off.
House and whole road worth than 120 yards.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Josh, are you serious? We're hunting Kansas, one of the best states to hunt, and I'm like, and we're still hunting by this house and by the gravel road.
Yeah, and we weren't really hunting a lot of deer. We were just hunting one particular.
Yeah.
And a 7.5-year-old deer had learned that was the safest place to be. And it's just funny how those big deer they figured it out real quick where nobody else was at.
Right.
But,
right. Wow,
we
that's
got
a
way
good
off
story.
track on that question.
Yeah, sorry guys, we kept off.
No, it's okay. It was a great tangent, but it's a great story. It's really cool.
Yeah, we love it. That's for sure.
Very nice.
Really. We ready for a 10 rapid, Jay?
I think we are. Do you want to cover that? You want me to hit it?
On it. We're gonna start. We'll start with Josh, and then we'll go. As soon as Josh answers, we'll switch over Krysten. Maybe we'll switch it up and let Krysten go first, and then Josh. But
Okay.
Number one best hunting tip.
Whoa! Practice. That is. There's just no shortcut for hard work. You cannot practice enough. Practice just like you're gonna hunt. Practice.
It's still mine. That's what I was going to say.
Practice always hunting situations, and every hairy hunting situation that you could possibly get in, you can't ever be over prepared.
Very good, Krysten. What's your number one hunting tip?
Well, since Josh stole mine, I think just have fun. The biggest thing out there is that you're out there because you're doing something that you love and you're so passionate about. And, sometimes we could all get so hard on ourselves and just have, a string of bad luck and why is this not working out? So I think the main thing is just, to have fun with what you're doing.
Very good. Krysten, one thing that you cannot go hunting without other than a firearm or anything like that. You got any one lucky charm or something that you cannot go? You feel naked without it in the woods?
Definitely my rangefinder. Like I talked about before, I'm a compulsive clicker, so if I didn't have that with me, I'd be lost for sure.
Josh, what's your one thing you cannot hunt without?
Oh, it's no doubt. It's my Nikons. You gotta have good glass. These guys that go out deer hunting all the time, and no offense if you guys do, but without having good optics, man, gosh, I don't know how guys can do it. I've picked things apart like crazy with some good glass. Very
good. Well, Josh, what's your biggest pet peeve in life?
My biggest pet peeve. You know what? It's probably not to get on the negative side of things, but it's a lot of the hunters that are feuding amongst each other. Dude, we're all on the same team, guys. Everybody, especially on social media, it's the worst. It seems like I see a lot of separation within the hunting industry or the hunting communities on social media outlets and stuff. It's like we need to join together and be on the same team. We're all trying to do the same thing here, so we need to support each other. That's probably my biggest pet peeve. I hate to see people, other hunters, hating on other hunters.
Yeah, makes sense. Krysten, what's your biggest pet peeve in life?
I think just the biggest thing is rude people and people just not treating people nice because they think, they're nobody. Whenever really, I think that you should treat everybody the way you want to be treated, and you just never know maybe who that person really is or how that might benefit you to be nice to them.
Very good. Josh, how old are you today?
I am 33 today.
33. What would the 33-year-old Josh tell the 23-year-old Josh, knowing what you know today?
Probably have more fun and kind of enjoy the ride a little bit more. The moment we get so caught up and so competitive in it, and we try to be humble or whatever, but at the same time, you need to learn to have a little bit more fun with it. This is, it's just our nature, some of us, to be so competitive. But you know what? Just sit back and have a good time with it. Get kids involved with. I'd love to get even more kids involved and more people that have never had a chance to be introduced to the outdoors. I'd like to get them more involved. Gotcha.
Well, that's great. Kristen, you talked that Josh was so much older than you. So Kristen, 25, 25 years old, yeah. Kristen. What would you tell the 20-year-old Kristen?
I think just to just kind of relax and not be so stressed out. I always think that things have to happen right away and exactly the way I want them to. And I think just to kind of, just kind of let things slide and just, realize that things are going to work out and not always the way you want them to, but the way that God has it planned for you, that things are always going to work out, and just not to stress out too much.
Gotcha. Josh, you meet a stranger at a convention, in the lobby, at the hotel, or in the elevator. They ask what you do for a living. What do you say?
I just say, we work in the hunting industry. We work in retail / hunting industries / archery tech, bow tech. Been wrenching on bows since high school. So. Same
question, Kristen. You meet a stranger in the lobby of a hotel or in the elevator at a convention. They ask what you do for a living. What do you say?
I say I do whatever I have to do so that I can hunt as much as possible.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a couple chewy bars, peanut butter and chocolate chips, and some Ignite. I live on that stuff, that Mountain Milk Ignite. I'm kind of like Josh about the coffee without that in the morning.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Josh, what'd you
I had a couple yogurt bars this morning, and of course, a couple cups of coffee. And,
Real Tree coffee?
Yeah, I had the Real Tree Max, double caffeinated.
Yeah, double. So he was extra spunky today.
Yep, I got some of the other regular, like medium Real Tree, but here lately I've had to whip out the double caffeinated for sure. Turkey season's been a long grind, man.
Right. Kristen, you get your own billboard, a blank canvas. You can put anything on it you want to. What would it say?
Follow your arrow.
Josh, you get your own billboard, blank canvas, on the side of the interstate, wherever, in town, wherever. What would it say?
Oh, it'd probably say...
my wife is the best.
It would say, aim small, miss small.
Gotcha. Very good. I say that, Kristen, we'll go with you. I say the word successful. Who's the first person that pops in your mind and why?
Definitely my grandpa. He has worked his butt off his whole life, and he had big dreams and stuff when he was younger. He wanted to be a pilot, and it was kind of just his dad had been a farmer, so it was kind of just destined for him to take over the family farm. And oh gosh, I think he's been on a tractor ever since he could probably walk, probably. And he just really showed me that with hard work, you could achieve anything. And I think he's, for me, the definition of success. Just seeing when you set out and you have these goals, and then just really finishing in them and just seeing them through.
Very cool. Josh, I say the word successful. Who's the first person that pops in your mind and why?
I'd probably say my old man. He's been man. He introduced me to the outdoors at a very young age, and gosh, I owe him everything. Just because of the fact that he didn't have to drag around a little snot-nosed kid everywhere he went. He could have went out and had a good time and hunted on his own and waited till I got old enough to do it on my own. But he introduced me at 8 years old at a very young age, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. And he's been a carpenter his whole life. Man, the dude just grinds away. I mean, he loves to work, and to see how much he loves to work and get up every single day to go to work, enjoy doing what he does, it kind of drove me to kind of follow my dreams. And work. It's not work when you love it and you're passionate about it. And I've kind of held to that. I'm 33 years old, and I just refuse to just work a normal 9 to 5, slaving away, hating life every day. And I learned that from him, and that's about the best thing he's ever taught me.
Very good. Josh, what's a day in your life look like?
Oh gosh, I get up, during the hunting season, the hunting seasons come gosh, it seems like they're here and gone. But when they get here, we hunt just about every day that we can. If we're tagged out, I'm taking somebody else. I'm taking a youth hunter, a new hunter, somebody maybe doesn't have as much, hasn't had the opportunities. So when it's hunting season, it's never stopping. There's always tags to be filled, somebody else's tags. So I'm either doing that or like now it's starting to slow down a little bit for us. We're on tags and we're not really going to do much more on state hunting this spring just because of the shop and stuff. But right now we're getting up early. We're going to go grind. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to eat breakfast, whatever. But we're going to go to the gym, work out, get that stuff out of the way. Then we're going to come to the shop, grind here, head back home, and do it all over again the next day.
Very good. Krysten, what's a day in your life look like?
Well, I get out at 6 o'clock, take all the dogs out. We have 3 dogs. They're our kids. Get them all fed, taken care of. And then I head to the gym and work out, and then go home and just try to get everything done that needs to be done there for the day, which seems like a long list right now since we're getting our house ready to put on the market. And then our shop opens up at 1 o'clock, so we're about 45 minutes from the shop now. So about noon, we head over to the shop and then work all day. And like you said, just then go to bed and do it all over again.
Yep.
It seems like a lot more stuff, though, doesn't it? Like that.
Josh sort of answered this one, but our last and final question of our 10 rapid fire is, what's a hunting day in your life look like?
You want me to go?
Go for it. It's all you.
Well,
sure.
Okay, it starts, Josh gets up and he has to yell at me probably, I don't know how many times. How many times do you think he is?
Oh, God. This year has been the best.
And it's not that I'm just not a morning person. And it's not that I'm not excited to go hunting. It's like, honestly, I just don't hear him until, maybe the, third or fourth time he says my name.
5 minutes before we got to leave.
I'm a really hard sleeper, yeah. So he finally gets me up, and I only need 10 minutes to get ready. And it's only 10 minutes. That's been long enough. I'm still girly, so I still have to have time to whatever I'm going to do with my hair, straighten my hair, curl my hair, whatever, and throw on a little bit of makeup because I'm doing everybody a favor. Nobody wants to see me on camera with no makeup. And then we're out the door, and, oh, gosh, we pretty much all day sits, or at least we're sitting, and then just get down midday, and then go to bed and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And I'll just take that as an answer for both of you.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
That completes the 10 rapid fire. Great answers, some interesting questions.
Sounds good. That was excellent. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Guys, this has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show. It learned a lot about you and where you're hunting. It's just fantastic, and thanks for sharing a few little tips and secrets there that I think a lot of people will be able to use in their own repertoire of hunting techniques, and just had a really good time talking to both of you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure was ours.
Well, those two are a lot of fun, I have to say.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's amazing how you can read the bond between each other. They're a great relationship, and you can just hear it when Josh talks. Krysten pays attention, and vice versa. It's pretty neat, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they cut up on each other, but they have a respect for each other's skill set for sure. And sounds like Krysten is starting to get out on her own a little bit more. And even though she likes that security blanket of having Josh around to take the shot, to just know that she's taking the right shot, I think she's kind of breaking away from that a little bit. I think they're a great couple, and I'm glad to see that they're still out there doing it, that they're exploring all the avenues and not just doing their own TV show, but kind of being that journeyman where they're going from show to show or recording content for different shows. I think that's pretty smart. And of course, now they have their archery shop, which I'm sure will keep them busy for a very long time.
Oh, no doubt about it, for sure.
So, Dusty, do you have a Chubby Tines tip of the week this week?
Yeah, I do, Jay, and it's,
The Chubby Tines tip of the week is sponsored by Morse's Sporting Goods. Firearms, used firearms, bows, used bows, located at 85 Kentucky Falls Road in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. Give Jim a call at 603-464-3444, morsessportinggoods.com. Your dollars go further in New Hampshire. There's no sales tax. Morse's Sporting Goods.
Trail cameras are starting to come out, and I'm going to say it's one that I talked about a long time ago, and I'd like to refresh on that just by talking about angles of your trail camera. And a lot of people put them waist high, just chest high, somewhere in that general area for your deer, and sometimes that's not always the best choice. If you got a tree that you can, carry a little aluminum stepladder in and get up just a little bit higher and get you a wedge and angle that trail camera down onto the deer as they pass by so that flash is not right in their face. Even though you may be using a red flash or a black flash, there's always some kind of illumination. And then big mature bucks are going to pay attention to that. And even though they're just growing velvet now, just in the starting stages of the antler growth, it's still a good practice to get into, to get that camera placed up in the tree on a little bit of an angle and just get that aerial photo down onto the deer versus letting it flash right in their face. Because 9 times out of 10, big mature buck's going to pick up on that camera and walk right around it every time.
Very good, man. That's very smart. As usual, you deliver something very intelligent to the Chubby Tines Tip of the Week. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, I would like to say thank you to all of our sponsors on this show. Thank you to Morse Sporting Goods for sponsoring the Chubby Tines Tip of the Week, and thank you to Advanced Takedown Treestands, the HB Seed Company, Covert Scouting Cameras, and the Eurohanger. Dusty, where can we find you when you're not hanging out here on the microphone with me?
Of course, you can shoot me an email, dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. You can look me up on Facebook, Chubby Tines Outdoors, @Chasing Antler on Instagram and Twitter. Jay, where can the people reach out to you when you're not on the mic?
Best place, as I had mentioned before, is an email, jay@bigbuckregistry.com. You can shoot me guest suggestions there. You can shoot me suggestions for the show. You can shoot me improvements or things you liked or did not like about this show. All that is right there in an email, or all that can be accomplished by email. If you'd like to check out our flagship Facebook page, it's bigbuckregistry.com/Facebook. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Big Buck Registry, and you can check us out on YouTube, where we're sharing all of our videos, whether they're the podcast themselves, where you can actually listen to the podcast on YouTube, or any of the videos that we've done either on our live set, which occurs on Thursday nights at 8:30, or any of the interviews we've done outside of this show, whether it be at a convention or wherever. So all that's right there on YouTube. You can listen to the show on multiple podcast directories, whether it's Libsyn or iTunes or Stitcher or iHeartRadio or TuneIn Radio. Many different apps are available on multiple devices, multiple mobile devices. So there is no reason why you can't find us, because we do spread ourselves out everywhere. Dusty, I think that's a wrap, my friend.
It's a whole lot of big buck, Jay. Well, I'm Dusty Phillips.
And I'm Jay Scott.
And this is another great episode of the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Can't wait.